My name is Joe Prim, and I am the host of Prepare.Defend.Lead. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the victim mindset versus the victor mindset. If that sounds interesting to you, stick around and I'll catch you on the other side of the intro.
The comfort and distractions of today collide to indulge our desires and provide a slow death by apathy. A superior primitive ethos exists. Prepare for tomorrow. Defend what you value and lead those you love. This mindset is the foundation of living an authentic life as a bold, disciplined man resolute in your mission. Prepare, defend, lead. Your mission. Own it.
All right, here we go with yet another episode of PDL. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, thanks for coming back for one more episode. If you would like to support this podcast, if it is interesting to you and you'd like to see it keep moving forward, you can either subscribe to it. That helps us out. That way you don't miss an episode. Leave a review. That might help somebody else. Check out this episode or share it with your friends and share it on social media. All of that stuff would be greatly appreciated. You can also go to Prepare.Defend.Lead.com. There you can find the link to the episodes, but you will also find t-shirts and stickers to help promote the podcast and also support this mission moving forward. If you would like to find out more information about what we have going on with our homestead, our new house that's being built down here in Texas, you can follow me on Instagram at Prepare.Defend.Lead. If you would be interested in following the PDL Budget Overland Project, you can also follow that project at Prepare.Defend.Lead on Instagram. So I'm going to try to shorten up this episode. The last two episodes got a little bit long. I have some notes on this episode, and I'm going to try to stick to my notes as much as possible, but this is a topic that I am very passionate about, and I am very frustrated seeing the way that things are going sideways for so many good men out there. And one thing that I'm going to ask is that as you listen to this episode, open your mind to the fact that maybe things aren't quite the way that you think they are. Maybe you don't have quite the victor mindset that you think you do. And number two, that you would listen. When we listen to things like this, it's so often easy to point our finger at and say, yep, he's talking about this guy. Oh, he's talking about that guy. Oh, he's talking about this group of people. And we forget to point the finger back at ourselves. So that's as I start out this episode, that's what I'm asking you to do, is please take into consideration what the message that I'm trying to get across here. I do not want to take away whatsoever from the fact that there truly is suffering out there and there truly are victims out there. Life can be cruel. Life can be difficult. And life is rarely fair, because normally we as humans define fair as going the way that we want it to go. We have lived in such ease and comfort, those of us here in the United States where I'm recording this, have lived in such ease and comfort for the majority, if not all of our lives, most of us, that suffering is not something that we're used to. And when I lived down in Guatemala, I spent a couple years down there working with my parents when they were running an orphanage, I saw what suffering looks like. I saw what victimhood looks like. I saw what a difficult life with very little future looks like. And it does not look like two royals sitting in a beautiful flower garden being interviewed by a billionaire. That is not what victimhood looks like. But we have embraced this idea of victimhood so much right now in our culture that it almost seems like, and maybe it is the case, that everybody is trying to top one another in who can be the biggest victim. This is a major problem. The reality is, I do not want to ever in this podcast be divisive. We live in a society and a culture right now that, along with being a culture of victimhood, we also live in a culture of divisiveness. There is division along every sort of direction that we could possibly create division. I do not want to participate in that whatsoever. My goal, my desire, is to pull good people together to realize the things that we have in common, rather than look at the couple of things that maybe we have that are different, that we could unify based on the things that we agree on and that we believe in. Because I believe that there's people far off in one direction and maybe far off in another direction, and I believe there's a gigantic group of people in the middle that are searching for what is the truth. They have their lives that they've lived out, and they have their own truth that's been created by their experiences, by what they've been told, by what they believe, by what their parents believed and their grandparents, and what social media tells them. Because what you see on Facebook may be different than what I see every day on Facebook. And what I see every day on Facebook may be different than what my coworker or my brother or my cousin might see every day on Facebook. Because it's catered and curated just for me to show me what they think I want to see, so that I will stay glued to it. So my experience of Facebook, the way that the world is manipulated for me to see via social media, is different than other people. One thing that's unbelievable right now is seeing what's happening for me on Instagram right now. I am completely shut out. I am in the doghouse on Instagram. Why? What I liked, or who I follow, or what hashtag I used at some point, I don't know. But then every once in a while, after a certain amount of time, I'll pop back out of that, and I'll start getting followers again, and start getting likes, and start getting comments on my posts. And then I make a mistake again, I do something, and all of a sudden I'm in the doghouse and being shadow banned again. And it's to the point now where it's very obvious to me when it happens and when it breaks back off again. Because we live in a world that's full of manipulation. We're being manipulated and pushed in certain directions. So as I get into this topic, and like I said, it's something I'm very passionate about. I had a good friend years ago that I ended up having to break off the friendship with this guy who I had felt was going to be a good friend and go down a great path together. And I ended up having to break it off because the victimhood mentality is toxic. And it was ruining our friendship. It was ruining our relationship. It was turning me into being that. Into beginning to adopt a victimhood mentality. And it clicked in me the one time when he mentioned something about something similar happened, and he's like, see, we're in the same boat, bad things are happening to both of us. And I remember thinking, no. Slam on those brakes. No. Good things are happening to me. I'm going in a different direction. I'm continuing to move down my path. And that ended up kind of being the beginning of the end. And it was like a loud voice inside my mind said, see, this is the wrong direction. And after that point where I started to realize that, no, we're not the same. I have a completely different attitude here. I'm going to succeed. I'm going to win. I'm going to do whatever it takes to take care of those that I am required to take care of. Where I'm at's nobody's fault, and I'm going to trust that I can move forward out of this situation that I'm in. And then I started to see all the other effects of that. So I want to talk a little bit first about victimhood mentality, the victimhood mindset. When you adopt the victim mindset, you relinquish control and allow someone else to manipulate you. So when you accept that mindset, when you accept the fact that you are a victim, when you accept the fact that somebody else is controlling you and that there's nothing you can do, you give somebody, and sometimes that's an unnamed thing, sometimes that's a group, sometimes that's a political party, whatever it might be, you allow them to begin to manipulate you, and you begin to do things that you wouldn't do if you thought that you could be victorious. But instead, you are a victim. When you adopt a victim mindset, you concede yourself to a force that you believe is greater than you. So, basically the same idea, right? When you accept the fact that you are a victim, when that becomes your mentality, when that's your mindset, when you fully accept that is who you are a victim, you are giving yourself over to this other force and saying, you are greater than me. I cannot succeed. I cannot win. I cannot do better. I'm stuck where I am. I am who I am. There's nothing that I can do about it. So let's compare and contrast victim mindset versus victor mindset. Victims, people that feel that they are a victim, are angry. People that feel that they are a victor are excited. People that feel that they're a victim are always angry because they don't feel that they have control of their life any longer. They feel that they are trapped. They feel that they can't control where they go, that somebody else is controlling them and somebody else is holding them back. On the contrary, a victor mindset is being excited. Because even though I may have failed, even though I may have lost my job, even though I might be going through a difficult time, I always know that tomorrow may be better. And I'm going to do everything I can to make it better. Once you come to the point where you realize that you want to be a victor, you look at your marriage that's in a rough spot and you say, I am going to do everything I can to pull this thing through. You look at the job that you lost and you say, you know what? I am going to push through and I'm going to find a better job, a place that will be a better fit. And I can't wait to get there because I'm going to show them what I can do. A victim looks for what they can get. And a victor looks for what they can give. So a victim is always looking for something or something from somebody because they don't feel that they have any control any longer. So because they're a victim, they're being held down by some force, whether it be visible, whether it be invisible, whether it be a whole group of people, or whether it be one person, they're being held back. So anytime they think that they can get something, they're going to try to get whatever they can get, whenever they can get it, at whatever cost or expense it is to others. They want theirs. Because they feel like people owe them something because they are a victim. Where on the other hand, the victor mindset is, what can I give? Because when you look out to the future as a victor and you go, no, I'm going to win this hour. I'm going to win this day. I'm going to win this week. I'm going to win this month. when that's your mentality, when that's the way you look at things, when you believe in your heart and are working and putting in the effort and time and energy to make tomorrow better than today, whether it be in your business or in your family or with your friends or with your hobbies, whatever it might be, right? You're looking to get better each and every day. And when you're looking to get better, you're trying to find other people along the way that you can bring with you. Because you want them to see the same happiness and the same achievement and the confidence that comes from having success. And you want others to be able to see that and to feel that. And when you have money, you want to be able to share that money with people that you believe are doing good things in this world, because you want the goodness and the happiness and the joy and your faith and your beliefs to be expanded. The victim is resentful. A victor is respectful. The victim is resentful because anybody that they see that's having any sort of success or that anything is going good for them, they believe that that's at their expense. They look at it and go, why? It's not fair that things are going well for that person. It's not fair that they've seen success. It's not fair that they won't give me what I want. The victor looks at it and says, I'm respectful. Wow, that person has obviously succeeded. What did they do? How do they have such a great marriage? How did they get to go on vacation to that place? How did their business succeed? And there's a respect there because you know, as you put in the hard work and you put in the effort and you put in the time and the energy into the things that you believe in, you know that they did the same. Success doesn't just happen. Whether it be success in your business or success at your job or success in breeding hamsters, right? Whatever your thing is, success comes through hard work and energy and effort. It comes at an expense. So when you see other people succeed, not only does it make you happy, but you respect them because you know that they put in the time and the effort and energy as well. Victims point their fingers at others, and victors point the finger back at themselves. A victim will be quick to point their finger at everybody else for holding them back. They'll be quick to point the finger at everybody else that's a stumbling block for them, or that's in their way, or that they should be angry with or resentful towards. A victor mindset says, you know what? There's nobody to blame for where I am at this moment than myself. I don't have control over political parties. I don't have control over politics. I don't have control over what's taught here. I don't have control over what's taught in this religious institution or this government educational institution. I don't have control over a lot. But what I do have control over is myself. And that is where the victor mindset starts, in yourself. Realizing that you are responsible, that you must take ownership for each and every word that comes out of your mouth, how you spend your time, how you spend your money, who you give to. So I'll say this again because I want to make it very clear to anybody that's listening to this podcast that's going through a tough time. Life is tough. Life is suffering. The reality is almost anybody that you would go up to and have an honest conversation with that seems like they are a success, that seems like they have done well for themselves, and you peeled back the onion layers and you peeled them back and asked some questions, you would find that they went through tough times and hardship as well. Maybe not the same, maybe not as difficult as where you are at today. But don't be discouraged. Life is tough. A tough life can build you into either a victim or a victor. But the choice is yours. A victor will have a mindset of ownership, as we just talked about, pointing the finger back at themselves. I always say, I will take responsibility for these things. I am not afraid because I am willing to bet on myself. If something difficult is coming up, if there is a hard part of a project, if there is something difficult to talk about or a difficult meeting to hold, I will take responsibility for that myself because I know that I can do the best that I can do. If I put it on somebody else and they fail or they don't come through, I still have nobody to blame but myself because I put them in that role. I always feel like as a leader and being in a leadership position, really you have to become more of a servant, really, because it's all about how can I make these other people succeed? Because the more that they succeed, the easier things are for them, the more clear things are for them, the more that we all succeed. But that comes back to looking at it and saying, what can I do? The fingers pointed at me. I need to take ownership. A victor works hard and is willing to make sacrifices for what they believe in. Again, a victor works hard, puts in the time, puts in the energy, puts in the effort, puts in the money, makes the sacrifices, risks the failures in order to move forward, in order to win the day, in order to build that, to repair that relationship with their son or daughter, in order to get back on track at work, whatever it might be. A victor is honest with themselves. This is one of the biggest keys and one of the biggest takeaways. If you don't listen to anything else in this podcast, listen to this. Be honest with yourself. Stop lying to yourself about who you are and where you are and what you are. If you cannot be honest with yourself and you don't know where you are or who you are or where you're going, how can you improve? How can you get better? How can you find where you need to improve? You can lie to yourself and say, our home is safe from a fire. I changed the batteries in the smoke detectors and we have a fire extinguisher. Well, when was the last time you checked those batteries? Well, I don't know. Well, when was the last time you checked that fire extinguisher? Well, I don't know. So you can continue to lie to yourself and say you're prepared, you're ready, you're ready. But the reality is until you're honest with yourself, until you take the time to check the batteries, until you take the time to check that fire extinguisher, you don't know that you're ready. Take the steps to make sure that you know you're being honest with yourself. Evaluate your marriage, evaluate your relationship with your children, evaluate your job, evaluate your relationship with coworkers, evaluate your church, evaluate your pastor, evaluate your friends, and make decisions, hard decisions, based on those evaluations. Be honest. So what I see right now happening in our country is I see a lot of people that at one time were pointing their fingers at people for being snowflakes, all of a sudden becoming the victims as cancel culture takes over. And while I completely disagree with cancel culture and what is going on, people don't like things and they try to erase history and make things go away that some people value, some people believe are important. But yet there's no consensus on it. A small group of people don't like something. They put the pressure where the pressure needs to go, and those things disappear. But what I find very interesting now is that it's become, is not only cancel culture, but the reaction to it is also rather sad. We'll just put it that way. Because things that nobody cared about on Monday get canceled on Tuesday, and all of a sudden on Wednesday, they're the most important, most valued things in the world. And I could come on this podcast and like so many other famous podcasters and rant and rave and get angry and do funny monologues on these things. But the reality is, I don't think that that does anything. I think that it feeds into the intention. And I believe that those emotions and people becoming a victim because Mr. Potato Head lost the Mr. and some of Dr. Seuss's books got canceled, or they're not going to print them anymore. I believe that when you start whining and complaining about things that you didn't care about a week ago or a few hours ago, all of a sudden become the most important thing in your life, that you are acting like a victim. You are whining and crying and complaining and making a big deal because somebody took your blankie away. But the reality is, even if somebody took your blankie away, at least there's a real attachment for that toddler to that blankie. Do you have that deep of an attachment to Dr. Seuss or to Potato Head? Probably not. But when we allow ourselves to be manipulated because something that was not important to us gets taken away by people that are doing it, maybe with the intent of seeing your reaction, has that crossed your mind? Could it be less to do with wanting to cancel things that they don't believe in and more to do with seeing what kind of reaction they get? What happens to sales? What happens to as money goes up? We need to take these things into consideration, because the reality is there are older books that have things in them that we probably don't, as a society and as a culture now, agree with. I have some older books that I read to my kids that there are sections of the book that I skip over, or parts of the book that I read a little bit differently in order to block out some of the things that I do not believe are acceptable anymore. At one time when those were written, was the intent to be rude or to be derogatory? I don't know, to be honest with you. It's not for me to judge. The rest of the stories we like, but there are certain sections in those. So I'll be honest with you, I have not looked at what Dr. Seuss books are not going to be printed anymore, or what was in them that was thought to be inappropriate. Have you? Have those that are angry about it and upset that Dr. Seuss, some of Dr. Seuss's books are not going to be printed anymore, have you looked into why or what was deemed inappropriate? Do I believe that not printing those books is necessarily the right move? No. I believe that the parents that are reading those books should be able to make the choice of what they would like to read to their kids. That's what freedom of speech is all about. But I also believe that there's a reaction factor that's playing into this. And when we allow other people to manipulate our emotions, to turn us into victims of the cancel culture, or turn us into victims of a certain party, or people that lean a certain direction, and we become victims to them, that we lose a lot of our power. We lose a lot of our strength when we allow other people to change or manipulate our attitude. You know, I have, to be honest with you, have had a love-hate relationship with Dr. Seuss. Green Eggs and Ham is a long, long, long book. And for a period of time, when my daughter was like 3 or 4, she wanted to listen to me read Green Eggs and Ham every single night. And that book was long. And it got very frustrating to the point where, because the book repeats itself so many times, I would often just skip 2, 3, 4 pages at a time as I would try to read through the book in the evening. So we don't have a lot of Dr. Seuss books in our house. But that's beside the point. You choose what you want to do. Ultimately, the choice of whether you want to have a victim mindset or a victor mindset is up to you. It's your call. You decide how you want to move forward. You get to decide. There was a man in the Bible named Joseph, and this is the guy who had the colorful coat, the Technicolor dream coat, that Joseph. And that guy was despised and hated by his brothers. In fact, most of his brothers wanted to kill him when he came out to see them one day, and they decided, you know what, let's kill this guy. And one of the brothers chimed in. He said, hey, no, let's just throw him in the pit for now. Let's just throw him in the pit. And that was his older brother. You know, older brother, very responsible, decided, you know what, he's going to try to make sure his kid brother didn't get killed, and figured he would help him out of the pit later. Unbeknownst to him, they sold this guy, Joseph, into slavery. So Joseph truly was a victim of his brother's hate. And he became a slave, sold into slavery. But where he became a slave, he became the head slave in a short amount of time because of the way that he worked, his mentality, his mindset of being a victor. So even in the darkest of places, right, of being a slave and being sold into a slave and betrayed by your brothers, he still excelled. He still pushed himself. He still took ownership. He worked hard and sacrificed, and he was honest with himself and became the head slave of the household. Well, the head of that household, his wife, thought that Joseph was a very, very good-looking young man and wanted to have an affair with him. And he refused, and she got him into trouble and claimed that he had tried to rape her. Well, if you think it was bad being a slave, he got thrown into an Egyptian prison. So he went from bad to worse, right? So now you're thrown into an Egyptian prison again. A total victim. She lied. She set him up. She put him into a bad place. He was a victim of her lies. But did that stop Joseph there? No. He had a victor mindset. He took ownership. He worked hard. He sacrificed. And he became head prisoner. And helped out the prison master there in the prison. And as the story goes on, years of being in prison, he ended up taking over and becoming second in command of Egypt and led them to store up food in order to survive a famine. But when I say life is tough, Life is difficult, but you get to control your mindset as you push through it. This is what I'm talking about. The Bible is filled with stories about people who went through hardships, went through difficulties, went through extremely trying times, and kept on moving forward with a faith and a belief that they could be victorious and that they were victors, not victims. History is filled with stories like that, from amazing generals to presidents to kings that went through difficult hardships and later went on to either see success or inspire others by the attitude that they had and the mindset that they had going through the difficulties that they went through. So, as I wrap up this podcast, like I said, I wanted to keep this one shorter. Take some time to evaluate yourself. Be careful that you don't fall into the trap of pointing your fingers at others and saying, yes, this is a person with a victim mindset. Evaluate yourself. Look at yourself. Do you have a mindset of a victor or do you have a mindset of a victim? Assess yourself. Honestly, accept where you are at. You may be happy with yourself after you assess yourself, or you may be sorely disappointed and very frustrated with what you actually see in yourself. And that's okay. Because once it's been revealed, once you've assessed yourself, once you've accepted where you are at, you can adapt. You can make some of the changes. You can decide what you're going to do in order to change the course as you move forward. And then we advance. So first we assess ourselves. Second, we accept where we are at honestly, fully. Then we adapt to to our assessment and then we advance. We move forward. We make the changes that need to be made. That is how you live with a victor mindset. That is how you become victorious in your job or in your business or in your marriage or with your children or in your church or in your community or as a leader. That is how you do it. So I'm going to wrap this up here. I hope this podcast will help some of you guys see where you're at a little clearer and help push you to seek out a different mindset, a different direction. Your wife will thank you, your community, your church, your children, your friends. Make the changes, change the mindset, and move forward in a different direction. And some of you are listening to this, maybe you're thinking this is who you are and this is how you are. Right on. Keep fighting through. Today might be a little easier, and tomorrow and the next week, and times might get tough. Keep going in the right direction. Keep that chin up. Keep that mindset of a victor, and keep moving forward. That's awesome. Proud of you. Keep it up. If you like this podcast, if you want to keep this thing moving forward, go to Prepare.Defend.Lead.com. Buy some swag there. That money will go directly into paying for this podcast, so the money doesn't have to come out of my pocket. Go to Instagram. Follow me there. That's my only real social media spot right now, at Prepare.Defend.Lead. You can follow what's going on with the homestead as we plan and prepare for that and move forward. That's going to get more and more exciting as the year goes on here. You can check out what's going on with the PDL Budget Overland project, turning a stock Mitsubishi Montero into an overland vehicle. And you can also check out every day I do a live daily show right around 5 o'clock usually called PDL Raw, where I just unedited, unfiltered, unscripted, just kind of off the top of my head, throw out either something I'm learning, something I did that day, or something that I've been thinking about that day. As always, hold fast and God bless.